You're tuned to the leading edge with Scent, the pulse of cricket podcast. I'm Scent. Every week we bring you the stories, insights, and moments that drive this beautiful game. So hit the subscribe button and let's get straight into it. Welcome to another episode of Leading Edge with Scent at Brownie Podcast Studio. So yes, cricket again. Focus this week, women's cricket. Yes, squads are out. I presume Pakistan is in the house. And then short part, all right, just before we start with the women's cricket, let's stop. I'm just going to say one thing about the World Cup. A lot of crazy that's happening I'm talking about the men's T20 World Cup happening in India and Sri Lanka. But let's be honest, it's actually happening in India. The crazy, Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, and I feel like this is like original stuff. It's not original war yet, but yeah, it is what it is. And what's my take? I have no take when it comes to the Bangladesh part, but with all that's happening, because at first I actually was thinking all of this is actually happening because of it's a money thing. It's actually a money thing. Pakistan wants to make sure that ICC doesn't make as much money and hurts the ICC. But something else is coming, and probably Pakistani fans are really not going to like me for saying this, but I actually think the reason the Pakistan Cricket Board and maybe the government as well wants to boycott the match against India is the concept of maybe they are going to lose the match. And right now, tensions are high, right? You have the Pakistani women's side who have already lost against India in the recent World Cup. You have the under 19 Pakistani players, boys, who lost against India under 19s. Do you get what I'm saying? And India now is in the final. Well, maybe they might win it, maybe they won't, against England. The point, what I'm trying to say is I think it's more cricket than what we think. It's not really political. It's not really financial. I think when it comes to this, India and Pakistan, I think Pakistan is probably boycotting the match for one simple reason. They do not want to lose against India, especially right now. Because if the Pakistanis lose against India, how will the Pakistani public react? It's just my take. It's a short one. And as for South Africa at the Cricket World Cup, I think South Africa will do well dependent on their captain. I think if Makram leads the team well on and off the field, I think South Africa will win the World Cup. Okay. Yes, I think they will win the World Cup. We want to reach the final, but I think we'll win the World Cup. We have everything. We have the batters, we have the top 6, top 4, we have the power hitters. David Miller is there. There's no one really left out. And for those that are saying Batman is left out, I've said this before already. Was he really going to play? Let's just be honest. So in terms of spinners, yes, we don't have a wrist spinner. We don't have a Shamsi. But I think Linda and Maharaj are capable. That is that on the gents. So I that's my take. I think South Africa will go to India and Sri Lanka, at least reach the final, but we want to win the final. So I think Makram and Shukri Conrad might be the team that takes us there, but we'll see. And there is nothing to take from warm-up matches. I think warm-up matches are a waste of money. South Africa's warm-up match was against what do you call this thing? West Indies. And other warm-up matches were in the SA20. These ICC warm-up matches, honestly speaking, are a waste of money. But anyways, that it is what it is. That's just my take. So, Pakistan is in South Africa. After that, India will come to South Africa. And then South Africa will be going to New Zealand. And that is according to the CSA convener of selectors, Mr. Clinton Dupree. So let me read something that was said by the coach, by the head coach. He said something specific. He said, when it comes to the squad was announced. I'll say the squad after these quotes. He said, I'm very pleased to be able to select the two competitive squads ahead of what will be a very demanding period for the team, with the tours against New Zealand, India still to come before the T20 World Cup. The team is in full confidence after the way we ended 2025, but we have to go again. It will be up to each individual to secure we maintain and improve our performances from the last year. We are not settling for anything less, and this tour against Pakistan, a side we know very well and who can be a tricky opponent on their day, will go a long way in helping us execute our plans and review what works and what we need to focus on going forward. So that was the coach. And now I'm just going to read the squads. I have my take, because when I do read the squads, please have something in mind, in the sense of the T20 side seems like a proper South African side, like a strongest team. And the ODI team is more like an experimental side. And obviously there will be no ODI World Cup anytime soon. But yes, so just bear with me on this one. So we have the captain for the T20 side, which is Laura. Tasman Britt is back. Nadine de Klerk, Annery Dirksen, Ayanda Hlubi, Sinalo Jafta, Marizan Kap, Masabata Class, Ayabonga Kaka, Karabo Meso, Nunkule Komlaba, Kyla Reinecker, Chloe Tryon, and Dané van Niekerk. So that's an interesting T20 side. Anyone who's, I'll say something specific. Now, just listen to the ODI side. Laura, still the captain. Tasman, still there. Nadine, Annery, Laura Goodell, Ayanda, Sinalo, Marizan, Sune, Karabo, Nongukule Komlaba, Tumise Kukune, Nondumiso Shangase, Chloe, Faye, Tenicliff. Now, this is interesting because Sune has been dropped from the T20 squad. She will only be playing the ODI. It's obviously not the end of the road for Sune. And then Kyla is in both teams. Kyla is a Western Province player, those who don't know her. She's also captained the SA Under-19 side to the World Cup and World Cup final. So she is a very good player, I would say. She is obviously a finger spinner, and she is a very good lower order batter. She can finish. So she might be given the finisher role if she does get to play. A player that got dropped is obviously the Western Province captain. I don't understand why she was dropped. I thought she had a fair series against Ireland. And then obviously Tasman is back in the T20 side. Tasman did play the ODI. Interestingly enough, the leading run scorer in the Hollywood Bets Pro 20, Faye Tenicliff, is not in the T20 side. She is in the ODI side. So that is quite an interesting move. Ayabonga Kaka will be playing only the T20, which is also for me interesting in the sense of Ayabonga has actually been better in ODI cricket, but she's a senior. So we really want the best out of Ayabonga. Tumise Kukune will only be playing the ODI. So, yeah, what does this say about South Africa going forward? I don't think this series says much. For me, it just says that the 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 the, the coaching staff, the management, the selectors or the selecting team is still looking for who is going to be in the South African squad. I think a lot of places up for grabs. Obviously, no one's going to take Nadine's place right now unless she gets injured. And obviously, no one is going to take Laura's part. You have Chloe. You cannot say anything about Chloe right now. And then who else do you have? You can't question, obviously, Marizan. Interesting enough, Dané will only be playing the T20, not the ODI. It will be interesting to see where do they place her now, especially with the Tasman Brits being there. So she won't obviously open. For Western Province, she tends to open. So she probably batted number 4, especially with Sune not being there. Now, is this good news for Dané? Yes. Is this good news for Dané's fans? Yes, it is. It means that South Africa might get to see Dané at a World Cup for the first time in about 3 years. So, yeah, man. So now, what else to learn about this team, especially the T20 side? They dropped we understand Annika Bosch is still not anywhere in this team. We also get that our wrist spinner from the Dolphins, Seshni Naidu, she's also not in the squad. So South Africa is literally planning to go to a T20 World Cup without a wrist spinner. There's nothing else to say about that. I think South Africa is planning to go to a T20 World Cup without a wrist spinner again. So now that also says something in the sense of in South Africa, according to the selectors right now, we don't have the quality wrist spinner to come in and take charge of the team. Understandably, the World Cup is not in the subcontinent. It will be in England. But either way, the pitches will not be prepared by England. The pitches will be prepared by the ICC, as far as I know. So having a wrist spinner might get us there. But then again, what do I know? Because in the last World Cup, we got to the final without a wrist spinner. So yeah, you have Sinalo Jafta, you have Karabo Meso. I don't know who's going to play which one because the last time I said this, I got it wrong. Against Ireland. But I would say whoever kept wicket in the last series in the T20, I think this time around won't keep wicket. I think the one that kept wicket in the ODI will keep wicket in the T20 just to see how they go because the competition right now is between the two. And the question is who's going to be the first choice? And everyone has obviously their opinions. With South Africa having time, I would say probably Ukarabo might be in front, but also that depends if Ukarabo is scoring runs. You know, she's literally at the time where now she has to start scoring runs just to compete with Usinalo. There's no other wicketkeeper in South Africa right now that they have in terms of saying they are competing for a spot in the T20 side. Because Ufei no longer keeps wicket. She can keep wicket, but she no longer keeps wicket. So she'll be an interesting choice for me just to add because, again, do you need both of them? Because Usinalo, no Karabo are not consistent enough in terms of getting runs. So now what are you going to do? Are you going to keep both of them? What if you had Faye as your second choice, as in a backup wicketkeeper? But that's just me talking as if I'm a selector. And then an interesting thing that I've noticed about this current Sarkin, about the strategy that the selection team is actually going for, is that Unondomiso Shangas not so long ago was a talk of the town. And we were saying, here's a player, she's experienced enough, she's the first black African, I need to say that in South African context, to score a 50 in international cricket, in women's cricket. But since then, she's found herself batting at number 8. She's found herself batting at number 9. I don't get it. And Usinalo Jafta bats now at 6. I don't know what the strategy is going to be right now. But here's the thing. Unondomiso is not in the T20 squad. We have her in the ODI squad. So we'll see where they place her within the ODI squad. But I believe, again, she's going to play in that ODI squad and they might bat her at number 3 or within the top 6. But it won't go anywhere because once it's crunch time for a World Cup, she's going to see herself moving away to that number 7, number 8. And the question is, what are we doing? And maybe I think the coaching staff maybe has a plan. I haven't seen the plan, but right now the plan looks like they just put her there, they increase expectations, and then when it's time to actually pick her and back her, they don't back her, just like within the World Cup. So it's kind of like they know who's their best players, especially now with Dané's back. I think they know. If South Africa was going to a T20 World Cup this month in February or March, I think the guys know who's their squad. And I also think they do know who's their playing 11. Maybe they have 12 players or 13 players within that just to debate, but I think they know. But yeah, they want to give people chances, and we'll see how that goes. How are we going to do against Pakistan? I think we win the T20. I think as for the ODIs, they're going to be more competitive because South Africa is not going with like their number one squad, especially even within the bowling and the batting, I would say. But it will be a big series for Utumise Kukune. As I've said it before, I'm a big fan. So if she does get to play, I think that ODI series is going to be big for Kyla. I think if Kyla doesn't get to play much in the T20s, I think she gets to play in the ODIs. I think she's going to play more as a bowler, but it will be up to her if she does impress. Anari, she has a lot of impressing to do. The last time South Africans saw her playing for South Africa, she started to do well only at the end of the World Cup. She didn't do much in against Ireland. She wasn't one of the players that people, I would say, were looking at or talking about. So I think this is also a big series for Anari, be it ODI or T20. And I think another player who's fighting for her place actually is Tasman. It doesn't look like that. I remember here in studio, I actually had, after the World Cup, I had Courtney, and we were speaking about Tasman. Well, what's the plan now based on age? Do you think South Africa is going to look to move her, or what's going to happen? And I think that has already started. The succession plan for Tasman has already started. And maybe Faye is that player, or maybe it might not be Faye. It may be Kendall's handler, or maybe be Nicole de Klerk. It depends how that's going to go. And Kendall and Nicole de Klerk are not even part of this specific squad. But I presume is that they are there. They are literally there by the door and they are knocking. And Tasman has to again perform. And it's probably not so fair for Tasman in the sense of she's always having to fight for a place, even when she thinks she is secure. She's not necessarily secure. That's just my opinion. Again, Marizanne, there's nothing much to say about Marizanne. Marizanne is Marizanne. I think she's happy that Dané is finally in the team. It will be interesting to see how she performs. Obviously, Dané will bat before her. So Marizanne will no longer bat at 4 in the T20 side. She's bound to bat either at 5 or 6. That will also mean that Chloe is batting at 7 or so, 7 or 8. Because again, if you remember against Ireland, Marizanne didn't play in the T20s. So yeah, happy times for South African cricket. Happy times for South African cricket. As I said, I do believe that we will win against Pakistan. India is going to be a challenge, but it's going to be a fun one. I think, especially with South African players having done well in the WPL. It's a pity we can't get Lizaldi. She's on the form of her life. But she made her choice and everyone made their choices, and that could have been handled better. I have my own opinions about those situations, but that's for another time, another day. And then New Zealand. I've been actually watching a lot of the Super Smash. There's a lot of New Zealand players that I like. I think I watched that even when Super Sport was not showing it and it was just on YouTube. I was starting to get to know New Zealand players. So that is also quite an interesting. It'll be a good series for South Africa, and I think it will also be a good challenge in the sense New Zealand pitches and England grounds, or I'm talking about the pitch itself, they are very similar. So it's going to be a good challenge for South Africa. It's a good one. Well done to CSA on getting that tour. And one last part about this is that I do believe this World Cup is going to be crucial. I really believe this World Cup is going to be crucial, and I hope South Africa wins. It's enough to being the bride, I think. Okay, we're tired of being the bridesmaid. We want to be the bride. Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, man, I really believe this series for South Africa is going to be a good one. And one last part about women's cricket in South Africa. Domestic cricket is coming back. You have your T20 matches. Western Province is still at the top. Western Province is yet to lose a match in the T20 competition. And they're going about it in an interesting way. They play against SWD. So depends how they go. If they're going to go on a 6-match win run, the Lions are second. And then in terms of the 50 over competition, which is the Hollywood's Bets Pro 50, that one I think is more fun. Like more teams there are actually fighting for that top spot. So yes, it's going to be an interesting 2 months in South African cricket. I'm talking about women's cricket, domestic cricket, to see who actually wins there. And then, but we will talk about that like later on, more in depth. And then we also get into including the promotional part of it, where you have your teams like Boland, Eastern Province, Easterns, Free State. And Free State is looking good, like they're going to come back again. So we'll talk about those later on, maybe at the end of the season, to see when we review the season itself. And the gents as well, domestic cricket is back in South Africa, be it Division 2 or Division 1. Western Province had a big win. So yeah, they might actually win a trophy. Northwest is still leading in the CSA 4-day series. So yeah, man. So that's us at Roundy Podcast Studio. I am Sent, hosting Leading Edge with Sent at Roundy Podcast Studio. Thank you guys for supporting. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, and the next time we talk, South Africa would have won that series against Pakistan. And we're out. Thanks for tuning in to the Leading Edge with Sent, the Pulse of Cricket podcast, proudly produced by Roundly Podcast Studio in partnership to bring you the stories and the voices of cricket. Until next time, stay on the leading edge of